Hello friends, and welcome to what's going to be a unique video for a lot of different reasons. I want to talk about something that was near and dear to my heart for the latter half of my college experience, and I would say the vast majority after my college experience, Pokémon X and Y, specifically related to Pokémon X and Y, what is known as the Pokémon Adventure Challenge. So before we dive into that, for those of you who are new, hi, my name is Ryan. Let's go into a little bit about me so you know a little bit about my Pokemon experience before this. So, if I can make this move. Thank you. So, my Pokemon experience, it started with Red, Blue, and Yellow back in the late 90s. Red and Blue, I know were my brothers, and I think because I played one of them and he played the other one, I think my parents got me Yellow as a, here, son, this is now yours. Stop annoying your brother, kind of a thing. Who knows what they were thinking, but I knew at that point I was in for the long haul. Pokemon Yellow was magical to me. When I got Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I was a few years older. I remember distinctly struggling against the Elite Four in Crystal because of my starter, Typhlosion, just not being the best against some of their members. I don't remember which ones. Maybe the Lance guy. Who knows? Oh, yeah. But anyway, I remember beating it when I was camping as a kid, and it was a super hot summer in Oregon, and I was just so excited to have beaten it that I was sitting in the RV with the door open because it was hot as hell. We didn't have AC in the RVs back in those days, and if we did, we didn't turn it on. And it was an enjoyable summer because I remember beating Crystal, and I was so excited. So excited it was over, but also I wanted to play it again right away, so I think I restarted it, I'm not sure. And then I got Ruby and Sapphire. I don't remember which one I had. I want to say I had Sapphire. I don't remember if I got both games at all times. I might have. But I do remember this is when I started really cementing my love for Pokemon. And it started being a thing that I would be into for the rest of my life, for the most part. Diamond and Pearl, it was a little bit different. I love the games. The Pokedex was limiting, for sure. But this is when I started to kind of get more into competitively breeding Pokemon and making Pokemon. But because Diamond and Pearl were so hard, I gave up fast and I never looked back. So that was the last Pokemon game that I had played. I never played Pokemon Black or Pokemon White. I've never played the sequels to Black and White. I just kind of fell off the bandwagon. I have both games. Like, I have Pokemon Black and Pokemon White too. But I never played them. To this day, I don't think I've ever played them. I've started them. I think I've gotten maybe to the third gym and I was like, not for me. So I stopped until X and Y came out. And when X and Y came out, there was this Tumblr post specifically about the Pokemon Adventure Challenge. And this post came out 2 days before Pokemon X and Y were released. This was on October 10th of 2013. And the post, which we'll go into more detail in the next slide, is just kind of summarizing their thoughts and feelings for the game, specifically with the character creation as an option, because this is the first time we've had it. They wanted to make a character and roleplay, essentially, as that character in not so many words. They don't specifically mention role-playing it, but that's essentially what it is. It's a role-playing thing. So, at this time, though, it's 2013. I am a junior in college. I haven't played a Pokemon game since Diamond and Pearl, which was back when I was in high school, I think. Maybe middle school. I know it was probably my freshman year of high school, I think, given the cadence and spacing of these games. But I've also lived on Tumblr at that time. 2013 was a time when I was actively on Tumblr. I think I was actively on Tumblr since high school at that point. As an adult, it was largely for NSFW reasons before the purge, but I was still on Tumblr, and that's where I saw this post. I don't remember who I saw it from, who reblogged it, but I know somebody had reblogged it. This one post itself has over 12,872 notes, so it made rounds back then, considering what it was and how niche, quote-unquote niche, Pokemon is on Tumblr in ways. But when I saw this post, I immediately jumped on the idea. I wanted to do this. So how did it work? So the idea was you'll take a new Tumblr account or add one to yours, who knows, under the format train your name, -game, -adventure. For example, mine was Shirada Y Adventure because I had Pokemon Y. I think. I had both games. I know I had both games. I think I started it with Y, though, specifically. And that's what I found on the list, which we'll go into later. That was mine. So unless I switched it at some point, which I might have, I had Y. So I have since deleted this blog, not today, but I deleted it, as we'll get to by the end of it. And I do regret it. It's about, a year and a half-ish, maybe 2 years-ish of my life just gone from the internet. And I'm kind of sad because I had, a good time and I would love to go back and reminisce at some point. But some other people, not to judge, it's not what I'm trying to make with a statement, but would just mash it all together. So instead of the hyphens, it'd just be Shirata Y Adventure, all one word. It was also fine. We all kind of found each other. We all knew what was going on. But the overall idea behind the original post was to post every time you would save the game, like kind of recapping what you did during that playtime, as if you were the character. Right as if you were the character. Effectively role-playing character, posting updates on their adventure via Tumblr, acting as if they had access to Tumblr, and like, what would they post? Like, hey, I'm just starting my adventure. I got my new starter. It's a chess pin. It's, I'm going to call him, I don't know, Hazelnut or, Hazel something. I don't know. But the other part was to kind of keep the world insular in the sense that we don't want to be interacting with people who are outside the Pokemon Adventure community, because we're essentially role-playing as if we're the character. We're not, real people on Tumblr, which is what we basically were. But it's essentially to keep the world focused about Pokemon, not to bring in, like, politics or anything like that, not to get political, but, like, just to keep the world about Pokemon. And I understand that concept. It was just more so to keep the world focused on the kind of adventure, updating lifestyle it is. And then that was it. It was just go have fun in a new Pokemon game, but maybe post updates every time you have something to say, or whenever you save, or however you want to do it. And I screen capped a couple of these profiles from Tumblr. We have more details than what the original posts looked for. Obviously, we have some things like friend codes and stuff, but we have people who want to be characters who are Pokemon breeders in pursuit of all things Pokemon, or, people who are looking to just travel around Kalos and hopefully write a memoir about their stories, or, professors who aren't actually Pokemon professors, just exploring the region, trying to, like, enjoy their summer vacation, things like that. It's a lot of different kind of things, and we have different hometowns. We have some people who came from Hoenn, some people who came from Kanto, some people who came from Unova or Sinnoh, and it's just, once you made your character in the game, you basically then just got to decide everything about that character. So what we did from there is we had, I say we, as if I ran this, I didn't. There were almost 700 accounts in total were made. I did find this Pokemon Adventures Challenge master list and info. It's essentially not by the same person who made the original post, as far as I can tell, but it's more so a kind of master list of, as you can see, all of the blogs. I will say a lot of these are probably deleted, but they had a total trainer list listed of 690, and the blog, it says, was only run by one person, but it has more. It has like tips, it has frequently asked questions about what the Pokemon Adventure Challenge is, how do you get started, and other things like, can I start it in Heart Gold Soul Silver, can I do it in Oris? So because this took off with X and Y, the vast majority of these are going to be X and Y. And then there were a few others. I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 for Heart Gold Soul Silver. There were a couple who were doing gameplay challenges like Nuzlocke, which was an interesting take on the kind of Pokemon Adventure Challenge of role-playing as a character, but this time your Pokemon can just straight up die. And then you have Oris blogs for the new games. And this was more so when Oris was coming out and came out. And there was only, like, I would say maybe 1 or 2 of those as well. But this became a small active online community that was very much all doing the same thing, but different characters and different styles and things like that. And it changed. It changed from the original, like, self-journaling process, if you will, to interacting with other trainers on threads and role plays and just, ask games and, like, get to know me's and, like, hey, let's all meet together and have, like, a lunch together and things like that. So, like, I guess I should go over the slide first. So obviously a lot of the posts are going to be entries like entry 1 or log 1 in this case. Hey, I'm just starting out. My mom said it was all the rage to do some sort of journey on a blog or record my journey on a blog, stuff like that. I know my first few posts were like that, Mine, I remember specifically, were more, I was role-playing as a non-Pokemon professor from Kanto who was like, hey, I heard this new thing about Mega Evolution. I'm here to study the energy released during that process, and, just made up some BS stuff. And then I deleted those posts immediately because I'm like, oh, that's not what people are doing. People are actually just like making characters. I'm like, okay, great. I was more so of the line of like, I'm just doing this as like, I'm a college student. I have no idea what I'm doing. I haven't role-played before. I'm just going to have fun. And I did. It was great. But from my limited memory, I can remember at least about 3 dozen blogs that existed. But apparently there were upwards of 650 plus. As we just saw, 690, if not more. Because that was self-submission, that if you wanted to be on that list for people to find, you can post your own blog there. Like, you can just send them and ask, like, hey, can you list me? So I can imagine a lot more were never self-reported in that sense, in terms of they didn't say, hey, I want to be listed here. But it was fun. It was a great way to get into role-playing for Pokemon fans, and I like that. And then we would role-play, as I've been touching on. Skype was big back in the day. Discord, I couldn't see if it was something that would line up quite well, because I know Discord was popular in like 2015, according to like the Googling searching that I did, and the majority of what I can see had pack ended like mid 2014, maybe late 2014 at the like latest. As I do remember, we were using Skype when I was in college, because I had that on my laptop, and then when we switched to Discord, I was still in college, but pack had mostly ended at that point, and I wasn't role-playing on Discord like I was on Skype. So it's a lot of different things that happened. But Google Docs and Google Sheets were instrumental here as well. Like, a single Google Sheet could have dozens of people editing it, or a document could have dozens of people writing on it. And it was chaotic, and it was messy, and it was fun, because it was, we would go round robin in like, hey, let's have our characters meet up, because we're all in the same area today, and I just want to talk to more people. I want to get more people. I want more friends. And then we had some forums, specifically, as far as I can tell and what I can remember, forums were specifically for things like the Ruby AU, which we'll touch on. And that was on Zeta boards, but that's no longer operational from what I can tell. I tried finding it, and it just doesn't exist. So that whole thing is lost to time. I still have the art from it, which will not be shown here. But yeah, we'll touch on some of the AUs as well. But it was a lot of fun role playing, and that's kind of what the bread and butter of it was at that point. Once it got as big as it did. And we had events, and then it expanded into different categories. So we had AUs, for example, Ruby, the show on YouTube, I believe. I know it's on YouTube, but by Monty Ohm, I think. Again, I'm vague about a lot of these things because I will say things and I might be 90% right, but I'm still going to be wrong in some way. But the Ruby AU was different in the sense that most people were normal type unless you had a subtype that was not normal. And if you were like a fauna or something, whatever they're called in Ruby, the more animal things, like one of them, I don't remember names, but they had like ears or whatever, you could be like a Gajinka of that. Essentially, you're like that Pokemon as if they were human with their abilities and like kind of features in a way. Speaking of Gajinkas, we had one. We had people making Gajinkas. I made one based on a clay doll, and I have done nothing with it. We had a Rabid Doubt kind of group where it's like Jigsaw in a way. If you've never played Rabid Doubt, I'm also not going to be able to explain this very well because I didn't understand what I was getting into. But essentially, it's a game where there's like a game master, and he sets up this kind of trap puzzle room house scenario thing, and your characters have to explore it. That was completely AU. Like, I opened a medicine cabinet mirror and I exploded and died, and the friend I was role playing with heavily at the time was very sad. So stuff like that happens. We had a coffee shop AU set in the Pokemon world, so it's things like that where it's like we took our characters, we had them in Pokemon, and then we're like, hey, what else can we get into? And we got into, I would say, quite a bit. As far as the events, we had some things like the Pack Murder Mystery Manor, Imagine Clue, but full of Pokemon nerds, and that got way over my head. I still have all the documents for this, and they'll never see the light of YouTube because it's just too much. It's just too much. We had, I would say, several, like dozens of people sign up for it, and we're like, I can barely manage 5. I have like 20. So that was rough. We have the Pack Holiday Ski Lodge. It's the unofficial title because I don't know what it was called. I also don't have the blog post for it anymore. But I do remember one fact about that is my OC played the piano at the lounge. And then we had a Secret Santa gift exchange. And I got these. I got the gif of my character with the Go-Goat. And then I got me in a Christmas hat. Or my character in a Christmas hat, basically. And I like that. I say me because Shroud is basically self-insert at this point. So be it. But it was fun. And I made some stuff on Photoshop because I had access to it at the time at my college, and I gave those stuff away. I made people like album covers based on the songs that we were going through. Like we had like, let's make albums for our characters, and then I'm like, I can make some, shoddily thrown together Photoshop album covers if you want. Just give me ideas and what they like in colors, and I'll just have fun with it. And I do have those as well. They're not going to see the light of YouTube. But I had a lot of fun doing that, and that's what kind of got me into Photoshop and stuff like that, which I haven't touched in years. But still, it was fun. And then, as all good things come, they must come to an end, unfortunately. I personally left over some drama between the friend group I had found myself in. I'm not going to go into naming names or even their trainer names. Nobody here was featured that was in the drama, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm not going to say anything. Again, it's been a decade. I don't remember what the issue was at the beginning. And B, I just don't have the time to unhash that kind of stuff, Friend groups come and go. High school friends I barely talk to. They're still on my Facebook, and I don't use Facebook. So it's things like that where it sucks that I deleted my blog. It sucks that I got rid of the memories because I would have loved to have gone back and actually shown you more of what I did on this kind of Pokemon Adventure thing. But I don't have the blog, unfortunately. And then, blogs get deleted. I know, I had to search to find the master post, this master list, and even then, I went through maybe 2 or 3 dozen of those blogs, and the vast majority of them that I found have been deleted or changed. Because if you change your blog name, it doesn't redirect automatically, which does kind of suck. Tumblr, you should have fixed that, but I get it. So there's a chance that they all could have been renamed, and I just don't know what their new names are because, again, I don't have my old blog. But I have stopped using Tumblr such as much because of the NSFW purge. So, I haven't seen anything similar to this pop up since I've been on Twitter, since I've been on YouTube. I didn't really want this Pokemon Adventure Challenge idea to die. I thought it was a neat idea. I still think it's a neat idea. And it's something I kind of want to try in the future with my streaming stuff, which we'll touch on later. But I think this is a nice idea, having a bunch of Pokemon fans come together who all love the game or who are all interested in the game and have them talk about the game as if they're the characters. As the post you see here, it's all things come to an end, with Alpha Ruby, Omega Sapphire coming out. They're planning on getting active on this blog again. It hasn't been updated since 2013, at least as far as I can tell. Working out the logistics and getting mods to join me on the blog, and I think by the time Oris came out, the Pokemon Adventure Challenge was a fever dream in and of itself that kind of fizzled into embers at that point, ashes. It kind of burned itself out. Not from the inside. It wasn't like a whole 650 people fighting and arguing. My experience was a very insular group of maybe 20 people tops that I can name off the top of my head. Again, I'm not going to name them here for the sake of I just don't want to bring up past drama. But I did want to kind of recap my experience with Pokemon X and Y because I haven't felt something like this since X and Y. I've played Oris, and I loved Oris. Sword and Shield are kind of mid. They're not my favorites. I could take them or leave them. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the best game I've ever played on the Switch for Pokemon. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee was a great nostalgic trip, but in the end, not my favorite. Violet and Scarlet came close to bringing me this feeling because of the friend group there, and I think that's what kind of inspired me to do this again, because there's less clothing options and there's less customization options, despite having more customization options in some regards. So I'm rambling at this point, so I guess the end of the thing I want to say is just thank you for listening to me ramble. I appreciate you guys chilling and listening to me talk about this project that I had no hand in making and no hand in, keeping alive, but I just didn't want my feelings to not have a chance to be expressed in a way that I can look back and be like, yeah, I remember this. I remember being a part of this community, because as things move on, memories fade, and I don't want to keep a hold of the good times that we had. So, end stuff. Thank you for the Patreon, Potato Kingdom. I appreciate your contributions month after month. I wish you the best, and I appreciate you sticking around while these videos are slowly becoming more inconsistent, as I haven't released a book review in a few weeks now, and that's just because of life. But yeah, so specifically, I am on Twitch at ShiradaSky, and what I was going to talk about earlier is I'm thinking of doing something similar to the Pokemon Adventure Challenge, not in its entirety, because I'm not going to be running a blog, because I don't have that kind of time, but I'm thinking of doing something similar where I might try and play X and Y on stream soon, probably like on a Monday or something, but do it as if I was going through it like I did when I was going through it with the Pokemon Adventure Challenge, because I think I still have my copy of X, and I can recreate my team that I used to beat the Elite Four pretty well. And I think it would be fun, to kind of go through and just relive X and Y again, because I haven't played it. I've played it more recently now because I'm trying to do another project, but I haven't played it in the sense that I haven't touched my X version in a while. I have a brand new version of Y, which I've been playing. But anyway, you can find me on Twitch nightly. I stream at 6 p.m. PT. I stream a variety of games. I'm also on Twitter if you want to hear my unhinged and quite often not safe for work thoughts. And if you want to support me on Patreon to hear more of me rambling about, gay romance novels or random video game projects that I'm doing, hopefully going to be coming up this December, feel free to support me there if you want. You can get some benefits at a couple bucks if you need to, but, any support is welcome. I appreciate your support always. It's not required. I like doing these. So I thank you guys for listening to me ramble for what I'm assuming is going to be like 20 minutes. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys soon. I love you all so much. Have fun and stay safe out there.